Hey Tyers, Darren here with another great fly pattern. Today we're going to be tying the soft hackle pheasant tail nymph. It's a great little fly for shallow creeks and streams, and it imitates a number of aquatic insect prey items, most notably the mayfly nymphs. Some say it's also good for fishing during caddis and stonefly activity. I like to fish this fly during the late spring and into the summer in larger sizes, and then smaller size flies in colder weather. I like to use junglecock body feathers on this fly, but any soft hackle feather should work pretty well. Hungarian partridge has been the go-to, and starling feathers also make a nice variation on the pattern. If you need a deeper fly, you can add a little bit of weight under the peacock herl, or add a bead head if you want. The legs or the collar of the soft hackle pheasant help give the fly its mayfly nymph silhouette. When the legs are matted against the body, it looks pretty much like a nymph, and it's hard to distinguish between the two. When the fly flows with the current, the legs come away from the body and add a little bit of motion to the pattern. This fly makes an excellent dropper fly when used on a multi-fly rig, such as a hopper-dropper configuration. Alright, let's have a look at the material list for this soft hackle and get started on tying this fly. Alright, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. Today I'm using a Mustad Signature S60-3399A, and this is a size 8. The thread I'm using is a Danville flat waxed 6/0, and this is the dark olive color. So we'll just start by putting a base layer of thread onto the hook shank. I'm going to wrap that down to just the hook bend. Trim that away. So first we're going to tie on a piece of, or actually a few fibers of pheasant tail. So I've got about eight fibers here. I'm just going to measure the length of the hook shank, and we'll tie that on top of the hook. Just do a couple wraps to make sure that's right on top. I'm going to wrap down the length of the abdomen, and I'm going to fold this excess back to where our tie-in point is. Next we're going to tie in a piece of fine copper wire. This will be our counter wrap. Give that pheasant tail a little bit of extra durability. And then we just want to take the butt ends of this pheasant tail, and this can be a little bit tricky, but you just want to make sure that you place your thumb on the back every wrap, because you don't want those to come unraveled. Cause a bit of a mess. Now I should note that you can actually, if you're not comfortable with the shortness of those fibers, you can tie in a second clump of pheasant tail there rather than trying to just use the first. And then we're just going to reverse wrap that, just crossing in the opposite direction that we wrap the pheasant tail. And we want to make sure that we come on both sides of that wire to make sure it's absolutely locked in. And if you want, you can just helicopter that under a little bit of tension and it'll pull right off. Next we're going to take a little bit of my favorite fly tying material. I'm going to take about 3 herls off the stem. And we're just going to trim off the very ends of those. Then we'll tie those in. I like to have a nice bushy thorax on my pheasant tails. And we're just going to wrap that 3 or 4 times forward. That looks good. And again, we just want to make sure we have thread wraps on both sides of that pheasant tail, or the peacock herl. Alright, so last we're just going to add a soft hackle. Now, one of my favorite soft hackle materials is actually these body feathers from jungle cock cape. I've got a lot of jungle cock, but I don't have much use for these feathers. But they do make pretty nice soft hackles. They've got a little bit of variation in their color, and they're nice and wispy. So we just come in, look for the size that we want, and then we're going to strip off the fibers up top. These can be a little bit hard to wrap, but see how we do here. So we just pull back the fibers we're going to wrap with the tip facing forward. We'll give that a couple wraps. And then I always fold the tip back. Make sure it gets locked in place. Pull that away. Now if you want, you can use a pair of hackle pliers here. I think I will just for fun. So what I always do is I just run my scissors up the side to kind of help fold that feather back. And we'll just pull it back and we'll wrap at the same time. And once we got that wrapped on, we want to make sure that we catch that feather before we cut the stem away. Then we'll just clean that head up a little bit. Now we just have to add a whip finish. And a second one for durability. And then we'll cement this after. There you go. Soft hackle pheasant tail nymph. Thanks for stopping by my fly tying channel and watching my tutorials. If you're new here and like this sort of thing, why not hit that subscribe button? I'd love to hear from you, so if you have anything to say, leave it in the comments below. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.